because in general we are experiencing temperature rise from last like 100 and 150 years. But till the end of last century, the rise was only close to 0.15 degree Fahrenheit. But after 1980, when the industrial revolution or all these economic activities like became very prevalent, this rise in temperature became double. Now it's like close to 0.3 or zero point 0.4 degree Fahrenheit every 10 years, and this is every 10 years. And with that rate, the scientists, they have anticipated that by the end of this century, that means by 2100, there will be a 3 to 4 degree Fahrenheit temperature higher compared to the pre-industrial level. And that's where they are thinking, okay, if we go to that level, it will impact all the biodiversity, because maybe the animals, the ocean water temperature will also go high. Maybe the fishes who are living there, because they are very sensitive, and once the temperature go high, they cannot survive into that environment. Either they have to migrate into the other areas, or maybe colder areas, or maybe they will die, right? And similarly, there are a lot of plants or other animals. Good example is polar bear, right? Polar bear, they can only live in a particular temperature conditions. And if this temperature goes higher, they have to go further into the maybe north or the south poles, right? Accordingly, where the temperature is conducive to them. So that's why we need to make sure we stop this temperature rising. And you rightly said, one of the key component which is contributing is the fossil fuel. And we use fossil fuels mostly from transportation purpose. Whatever the fuel which we use, that is the fossil fuel. In industry production, many times the fuel which we use, that is the fossil fuels. And we need to make sure, can we use that fuel more efficiently, right? Where, or are there any other ways of where we can use alternate fuel? Maybe the solar energy. I know the solar energy becoming very popular these days, but at the same time, there are a lot of limitation from the, I would say, initial investment. Sometimes people has to face, right? And but we also need to see, okay, these are the limitation at the beginning, but what is the overall benefit? What is the benefit in the long run? And once we see that benefit in the long run, not only for us but also for our future generations, and then we will maybe appreciate, okay, we should go into these kind of technologies, and then invest into those kind of technologies.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. We were having some technical problem. Some of the recording didn't go through. So basically, uh, we will rehash some of the topic that we had discussed, which is
Okay.
not easy. But for the audience, I want to introduce that today's discussions that we're doing is on climate change, environmental pollution, product safety, and my guest is Dr. Bikram Singh, who is a researcher with 16 years of experience in consumer product, agricultural chemicals, and environmental technologies. He holds PhD degree and specializes in innovative products development, which are safe for consumers and the environment. And Dr. Singh, we have been discussing about uh, your experience in this field, but main goal is consumer safety. But to go back to the very beginning, what got you interested in this field?
Okay, so this is actually a very interesting question. So the reason I came to this field, because of my background. So my family, my father is a farmer. So that's why when I went into the academic field, I went into the agriculture sciences. I did my studies or the PhD in agricultural chemicals. And that's where I learned about the impact of these chemicals sometimes on the environment. And my research topic was the to study the impact of new pesticides which we use into the different crops. And at that time, I was testing on the tomato crop, and I study the impact. Okay, how it can impact the tomato crop, not only from the crop perspective, but at the consumer once they will eat it. Will that lead into any harmful effect? Okay, after application, can it have any impact on the soil? Can it have any impact on the groundwater? And when I studied those kind of things, I thought from my like, okay, my family is using all these chemicals, right? Are these safe for them? And that's why I thought, okay, I'm doing these studies, I should contribute into this field more. And that's where my interest became more prevalent into this field, into the environmental sciences. And wherever I can contribute, I try to contribute, either maybe through the research articles into different journals or the international magazines. So I publish about those, how we can maybe go into technologies which are more safer from the environment, or maybe what are the different agricultural techniques. Maybe it's a regenerative agriculture, that maybe like it's a new term, but it's a how we do our agriculture which is safe for the environment. Because I know the, like few years back, I would say like 20, 30 years back, the focus was more on the green revolution means generating more and more food. But now we, during that, we have done a lot of damage to the environment, which we now realizing. And I think we need to start focusing on the different area, where we not only increase the productivity of the agriculture, but at the same time we also protect the environment and the people who are working into that particular environment, or maybe in the fields like my family, right? So that's why my interest came into the field.
Amazing. So, tell us a little bit more about your experience and your uh, contribution, so to say.
Yes. So uh, the my contribution actually started with my studies, when I did my the post graduation and the PhD degree. So that's where I started working on the different areas, especially the pesticides. I started with those, and how to, what are the different ways we can first, because first thing we need to study, right, to understand if any chemical is making a harmful impact or not. Because if it is making, we need to bring that into maybe awareness of the public or the regulatory authorities or the government agencies, so that there can be proper regulation around those, either limit those or maybe restrict their use. Because sometimes there are situations where we still need to use, but then we can limit in such a way that even once we apply, that concentration is very minimum or the amount is very low, that it will not have any impact on either consumer or the environment. So that is one area where I started contributing, how to generate that data. And second is, as I said, I published some articles uh, to increase the awareness, not only with the people but also to the further scientific community, like the my fellow researchers. Sometimes whatever experiences I have, I share through these articles so that they can also learn. And third is, I would say, I also do kind of a guide the students from the high schools or from the universities as a interns, and I guide them into different how to, what are the different ways to make sustainable product which are good for consumer and the environment. And lastly, I also collaborate with some of the non-profit organizations. I work with an organization which works for the better animal, plant, and the human life at the global level. So I again work with them, write some articles at their website. I also work with my town. Recently, I became a volunteer there in the environmental commission, so that I can contribute my knowledge there. So wherever I have the opportunity, I try, where I can contribute through my knowledge and experiences. I try to go in there, not only limit for with the like professional life where it's related to only my work, but also outside the work. So many areas I try to look for those avenues and go and contribute there.
Fascinating. Because the goal of education is not only gaining education, it is application and uh,
Right.
distributing knowledge. So that's what you're doing. So let me go back to that. Yesterday, July 28th, was World Nature Conservation Day. And what do you think is the significance of that World Nature Conservation Day?
So World Nature Conservation Day, it started just to bring the awareness between the public about the environment and the natural habitat, right? So just to make sure we protect those, because we are not only protecting them, but at the same time they will impact us. So we are protecting ourselves also in the long run. Maybe we are protecting us and our future generations also, because they will have those resources. And one and the reason they started is because there are a lot of species or the animal or the plant which are globally, they were getting endangered or they're getting disappeared from the face of the earth. And that's why the international organizations, they started this day, so that we can start promoting or start increasing the awareness about these harmful effects which are bringing on the environment. And one good example is, in case of US, there are almost like 14 to 1500 animal and plant species which are endangered. If we don't take actions, they will disappear very soon. And similarly, in New Jersey, there are like 15 to 16 species which are on the verge of extinction. So we have to take action to make sure that we protect their environment so that they can thrive into that environment. And we are from Asia, so one good example is Sundarban Delta,
Right.
and there's a Royal Bengal tiger, right? And that was a very popular, and I think Royal Bengal tiger, it's pride for all our countries. And we know that is also under endangered species. There are only 3,000 Royal Bengal tiger which are left there, because there are a lot of economic activity or population which has grown into the area where those animals live, and we are impacting them. And that's why the purpose of this day, to increase the awareness about, so that we can protect our environment, can protect our land degradation, we can protect our soil or water pollution, and we can contribute all individually.
But don't you find it to be a huge challenge? Like, Royal Bengal tiger, as you mentioned, that it is in the brink of extinction because there are people who want to kill and sell their body parts and the skin. Now we are talking about greed in one side and the benefit of on the other side. And to live, it is to live and let live because we are living, but we are not taking care of the animals, which that awareness is missing. So don't you think we need to have more vigorous action or plans to make the people aware, particularly, I think, in our part of the country?
Yes, I think that is a very good, actually, I would say, statement, like live and let live, right?
Yes.
And many times we see the short-term benefit, especially in case as you rightly mentioned that people like kill them for their skin, right? And they kill because there is a market also.
Yes.
And that's why every consumer has to be aware that whatever they are buying, what is the impact in the long run. Maybe they are getting some product which is very fancy, good looking, made of the skin of the Bengal tiger, right? But at the same time, we are killing that. But we are not only killing them, once we kill them, it will disturb the whole system. And in the long run, it may also impact the people in that area who are dependent on maybe other livelihood, right? Yeah, we never know, because in science we say there is a food chain. If we break that food chain, if we kill the maybe Royal Bengal tiger in this case, there are other animals on which maybe Royal Bengal tiger was feeding and keeping them under balance. They will start growing, and maybe those could be some other wild animals which can destroy now the crops, because earlier Royal Bengal tiger was feeding on them and keeping them under balance, but they were not enough so that they can disturb the crops of the farmers. But now tiger is not there, and they can go they and into the fields and disturb them. That's why we, as a consumer, we need to see what we are buying, what we are using at homes, what is the long term impact. So we need to, awareness is one component, but fundamental or the long term awareness or long term impact is very, very important to understand. Once we understand and appreciate that, then automatically everybody will start contributing into that. And that's where right now I think the challenge is, because everybody is busy into their life, daily life, in the routine activities. We don't have the time to think into that direction sometimes. And that's where the role of the scientists, role of the maybe different non-profit organizations or the government, so that they bring different examples, more powerful examples. Because sometimes knowledge is one part, but the way you communicate the knowledge is also another part. So once you bring those powerful examples which can communicate, you show the impact, which maybe when people kill the Royal Bengal tiger, what impact it will have in the long run, not only on the tiger population, but on the overall ecosystem, overall population who's living into that area. And that's where the maybe the actually, I would say, revolution will happen in this area when people will start thinking about the environment.
Absolutely. I was just on a different note. Recently the Secretary General of United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, said that the era of global warming has ended and the era of global burning has arrived. He said after the scientists confirmed that July was on track the world's hottest month on record, and he attributed it to climate change. So, do you think we are ourselves are endangered species?
Yeah, yes, I think it's very good analogy. Maybe in the long run, yes, because when we are moving from global warming to global burning, yes, we will become extinct slowly and slowly if we don't protect the environment. And as you said, the temperature in the July month is the recorded the highest ever, and we are on track for that. And that's why we need to start taking action because we all animals, plants, including humans, right? We can live in a particular environment. And once that environment, especially, and what are the different components? What is the main component of that environment is the temperature. And once temperature goes to certain high level, there are chances that one, it will impact our day-to-day activities, maybe system of the body that will be impacted. At the same time, it will also bring new diseases because some of the bacteria, some of the viruses which are currently living into the high temperature conditions where we were not there, but now that temperature is everywhere. And those bacteria can start coming into maybe the human population. And then we will face those kind of issues. At the same time, it will also impact many animals. Like good example is in oceans, fishes are very sensitive, right? And when the temperature goes higher, either they have to migrate into colder areas, but then chances that there will be less, very less colder areas, or either or otherwise they will die. And that's why we need to make sure the temperature, we put a check on this temperature so that it don't increase. As an agriculture scientist, we have also seen the high temperature will also impact the productivity. As a background, as I have a like farming background, I know the our crops can also grow in a certain temperature conditions only. And once that temperature change, either the life cycle of crop will go very high or its production will go down or nothing will grow. And that's why it will impact the even the food system. When the population is already growing at a very high rate, we need to make sure we also have enough food, and this high temperature will impact everything. So that's why we need to make sure we stop this increase in the temperature. And one of the contributor is definitely the climate change or the environment imbalance which we are creating because of the human activities. And that's why we need to work into this direction.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. Now, you also do the products, and safety is one of your prime concern. So, how researchers ensure that new innovative products are safer to environment and to the consumers?
Yes. So these products, consumer products, they are part of their everyday life. We all might have like multiple products at home. Some are for cleaning purpose, some are for maybe house cleaning, or maybe our cleaning of our body purpose, or some maybe like fragrances at the home, so that we make a conducive or very like good environment at the home, right? But these products are mostly use certain kind of chemicals. And when we design our product, we make sure those chemicals are not very persistent in the environment, right? They don't stay in the environment for long. We purposefully select the chemicals which either degrade very quickly once they serve their purpose, whether it's a cleaning purpose or any other purpose. Once that is served, now it goes into the environment, it will degrade. It will be degraded by the component of the environment. That means once the component of the environment, like the bacteria or other the microorganism or maybe the plant, they will take those as their food, they will take those as their nutrient, so it will also serve purpose there. So that's why we choose the chemicals which are very good from the environment point of view. At the same time, we also make sure the chemicals are good for the people perspective or the consumer who use the product. And second part, other than the chemical which we use into our products, is the packaging or the plastic bottles or plastic maybe pouches. You mostly like buy products which comes into this kind of packaging. And we all know that plastic is a very big contributor into the pollution, environmental pollution, maybe into the water bodies, maybe in the soil, maybe into the any environmental area where it's causing pollution. And one very good example is a great garbage Pacific patch in the Pacific Ocean.
Hmm.
So there is that area is almost the size of the Texas state, and that is full of plastic, because whatever plastic we unknowingly throw into maybe the beaches or any ocean areas, or either it go through the rivers into the ocean, it at the end it land there. And that is a almost close to this area of the Texas state. It's very very big. So that's why we make sure we whatever packaging we use, one, it's a recyclable. Second, we also use the component of 3R. Can we reduce the packaging? Can we reuse the packaging? And I already mentioned the recycle. And the fourth component, which we are also bringing now, is rethink. Do I really need this packaging? Do I need this like plastic? Right? Can I use a paper-based packaging? Because paper-based packaging can degrade into the environment very easily. So these kind of things, which when we develop a products, we work from the ingredient point of view, we work from the packaging point of view, so that we limit the burden on the environment.
These are very important and something for the consumers to think about. Though there is a widespread of awareness or communication around importance of environment protection or nature conservation, but still we are unable to achieve the success rate which we want to achieve. So I would think of one thing that you have been mentioning is that awareness. But besides that, is there anything else you would like to add?
So, other than awareness, I think we also, as I mentioned somewhere before, is we need to also start understanding, maybe change our thinking. What is the overall impact? Maybe ask this question. So once we ask this question, what is the sometime when we question these things, you automatically get the answer, and then you also appreciate. Okay, should I use or not to use? So, and then once you know that, you will automatically limit the use of. Sometimes it's not possible to completely eliminate, but you can limit the use wherever it's required. Then you will only use them. Second is, I would say also, if as a public, uh, the lot of information we can get when we become part of any organization. It may be non-profit organization, right? And we become part of that. They do a lot of activities, and once we go into those activities, they also help us to teach. Okay, what are the overall impacts? So we need to understand that. And third is at home. Can we use maybe small changes? Small changes. Can we use the same concept of 4R, which we are using as a researcher, right? Can we reduce something? Can we reuse something? What can we recycle? And maybe rethink before. Do I really need this? Any maybe plastic packaging or any food which may at the end go into waste, right? Once we create more waste, we have to put it will automatically end into the environment and create more burden there. Can I think very good example, and we also need to think, okay, what is the long-term impact? And one good example I would tell is the plastic, the story of plastic. And that was surprising for me too when I first time read the story of plastic was actually designed to protect the environment
Hmm.
somewhere in 1850, because the billiard was a very popular game, and the billiards balls, they were created from the tusk of elephant. And that's why there was a lot of like killing of the elephant for the tusk purpose. And that's why scientists developed this plastic made of cotton fiber by reacting with the camphor. So it was the original plastic was a component of cotton fiber plus camphor. They created this a plastic component, and that was used for the billiard balls. And that time it was highlighted as a success. So, okay, this component or this plastic, they call it as a plastic because it can be molded into any form. And they said, oh, it's a very good for the environment. But I think in the long run, what we forget, because we started using it very widely into every area, and it started ending up into the environment. Otherwise, so that was a very interesting story when I read, okay, what was the purpose and where we ended at the end. So we need to see long term, and we also need to see, do we really need everywhere? I think the problem with the plastic was it we started using everywhere. Do we need to do use everywhere? So that is in the home. I would say where we can contribute also when we go outside, because many times we impact the when we go outside, we impact the natural balance, maybe unknowingly, when we go into maybe the beaches, when we go into the national parks, when we go into the forest area, because that is the area a lot of other plant and the animal species lives. We can definitely use, because the scientists believe in the conservation, not protection, like not completely banning it, but we need to make sure we don't maybe pollute those areas. Whatever we do there, we make sure we use them wisely. And at the same time, maybe if we can encourage some activities which can further help into maybe improvement of those areas, maybe we go there. If some area we know there's a plant population is less, maybe we can contribute through the plants there, right? So if we can do those kind of activities outside, that can definitely help into the contribution.
It's very interesting. I didn't know about the history of the plastics. So things looks like you start something with a something noble in your mind and useful. Then how it turns and with the uses it becomes it defeats the purpose of creation.
Yeah, that's true, and that's where I think the limit of everything is also very important. And in our science, I think when we work on the what is the benefit or the harmful effect of any component is, the sometimes the harmful effect is caused by the how much you use.
Hmm.
Even they say the water is toxic, it depends on how much you use it, right? Sorry. So that's why we need to make sure, like, whatever purpose they are designed for, we use for that. And we also make sure, like, it don't go into the area where it's not designed.
Very important. And also we talked about the plants that the key components of natural system. Is there any particular type of plants that you think should be planted to protect the nature?
Yes, so mostly, and that is the area I think where the people can contribute more, I would say easily, because when we disturb the environment, the two key component of environment is plants and the animals, right? We can, it's very difficult to bring back the animals, because they will live or survive or maybe feed on the different plants. That's why first thing we need to bring is the plant. And whenever we think of bringing any plant, it's always prefer to use the native plants, because naturally the native plants are designed by the nature in such a way that they can survive in that particular environment. Even though they have the less nutrient in the soil, they can still survive because they're designed. Even though there is less moisture, they can survive. And at the same time, because they are particularly specific to that area, many times the pest attack, or maybe the any insect or any, maybe I would say, microorganism attack is very very less on them, so they can survive very easily into that area. The another part is those the plants, because they have the capability to hold the soil, because they're designed for that area. And once they hold that soil, and they will also help into the uh, reduction of land degradation. Because what happens when rainfall happens, we if we bring any outside plant into that particular area which is not native, it cannot hold the soil very effectively. And once rainfall happen, soil will erosion will happen. It will take all the chemicals along with it into the water bodies, maybe the rivers or the lakes, and it will pollute those rivers, lakes and the rivers. Whereas the native plants, because they will hold it, so it will protect from the that pollution which is happening into the water body. At the same time, from the people perspective, the native plants are very good actually, because they need less nutrient, because they're designed for that area. So people have to add like less fertilizer, less pest attacks, so they have to add less pesticides. And they require less maintenance at the same time, so you will save time also from that perspective. That's why the preference is always to the native plants if we can grow into that area.
Amazing. So we have to be kind of indigenous in our choice of plants, and it is important. So don't you think it's kind of like a territorial kind of thing?
So yeah, so sometimes it's definitely territorial, but again we need to see the overall benefit, right? So as long as we see the overall benefit, definitely we we can appreciate that. And when we I think the another component is when we bring those kind of plants, it will also help the local communities. That is another angle, because many times the local communities, they know how to use maybe the material of that plant, right? In a particular way. Suppose one good example is maybe the Bangladesh. If I take example, it's very popular for cotton, right? The cotton fiber. What if we bring some different fiber there? There were a lot of people who are currently dependent on cotton there, correct? And if we bring some different kind of a maybe plant there, it will be very difficult for them to shift into the new areas. Maybe a lot of people will lose their livelihood at the beginning, and that's why the native plants, because they are set into the particular, I would say, lifestyle of the people. So that's why they are very very important. So yes, they are territorial, but they are a perfect network where plants is not only one component, but plants, animal, people, they're all part of that system.
Very interesting. We are almost out of time. Dr. Bikramjit Singh, it was really a pleasure talking to you and a fascinating talk. But this will not be the end. Hopefully, we'll be meeting again. And I'm sorry that due to some technical difficulties, I was told that some part of our conversations were not broadcast. But we'll make it up. And you have any plans for the weekend?
Yes, so we are trying to explore some areas nearby, and maybe go into some area where we can enjoy the definitely environment and the natural habitats. So definitely that will we will go there. But I would say thanks for your time and this opportunity and to talk on this subject, because this was very relevant when yesterday we had the World Nature Conservation Day. And if
Yes.
I could contribute anything through my knowledge experiences to bring any further awareness, I'm definitely glad into that.
That'll be wonderful. Because the takeaway points very grossly that I find it is very important to maintain that balance. It is not for only others, but it is for our own health, and
Correct.
this health is related to everything. As you know about the COVID, that the researcher says that it was due to the imbalance of nature that we created, that we encroached upon the animal kingdom, so to say, of the other kingdom, which has infiltrated into ours. And as you said, that it cannot be compatible, that in their environment, in the other environment, and that
Correct.
could be a reason.
Yes, yes, that is a perfect example actually. When we created a imbalance into the environment, and those bacteria or the viruses which are living into that environment, they came into the humans. And that's why we say when we create this imbalance, we will see diseases which were never seen before, and we will see the impact which was never seen before, which we saw in COVID. Nobody has experienced that kind of effect in their lifetime which we saw in COVID.
So it appeals to some of the basic nature that people, as a human being, should have is kindness and consideration.
Correct.
Which, because we have to be kind to the animals, considerate about their territory, about their land, but which is rare things now. I mean, with all the wars and everything going on, we have a lot to do. Lot of. Is there any time limit that this climate change has to be fixed? I read somewhere that it has to be done within 10 years, or it will bring great disaster to the earth.
Yes, so there are different factors which contributing into the climate change, whether it's a carbon which we are adding into the environment, whether it's a pollution, whether it's a temperature rise, and every component has a different time limit, and they have a different kind of a target. And accordingly, the organization, maybe the global organization, government, or the other the organization, non-profit, they're working into that area. However, there is one part is, can we reverse this, I think that is looking a little bit difficult at this stage. That's why the most of the organization they're working, can we first stop it, especially in case of the temperature rising. Uh, as I said, the temperature will increase by like 3 to 4 degree Fahrenheit by end of this century. So they're trying to limit within 1.5. It will still be higher than the pre-industrial areas, but it may not be significant so that it can disturb the balance. It can disturb the animal and the plant. So yes, they have the different targets, and accordingly they are working. But with the first objective, can we first hold this maybe change, maybe pollution if it is happening? Can we first stop? Once we stop, then we can go into the reverse direction where we'll start reducing maybe the impact. But first thing is to stop.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. And I think it was a fascinating discussion. And thank you for your time. But before I end, I want to go that you also do some charity works uh, and entertaining works too, right?
Yes, so I do kind of two kind of, I would say, work maybe in outside of my professional environment. One
Mhm.
is I try to contribute through my knowledge and experience. So I work with a non-profit organization which work in the field of like better animal, better plant, or better human life globally. So I work with them, write articles, again create the awareness between the people. I also work with my town recently. Like I went as a sent my nomination as a volunteer, and they selected me. So where I will work with the Environment Commission. So it's a like organization or the body between the authorities and the people. So whatever we are bringing into the town, what are the environmental impacts, and how we can like contribute as a expert or as through our knowledge, so that it won't impact the people also, but at the same time to bring the growth into the town. So that is one area. And I would say the next is more my passion as a social interaction. So I work with my community wherever I get opportunity. I try to contribute, whether in the festivals or if there are sports, anything is happening. So I'm a big fan of sports. I was like sports secretary during my college days also. So
Which
I
one?
try to contribute. So recently, we are doing a kind of a tournaments. Like we are doing volleyball, we are doing tennis here, we are doing the cricket tournament, just to so that it's not only good from like interaction, but at the same time it's health point of view, and most importantly because it will bring the kids out, because most of the time they are like glued to the screen these days. So that is a
That's
good opportunity where they come out, they play, they interact with other peoples, and when they interact with others, so they learn actually more. So that's why I try to contribute through those kind of activities.
awesome. Again, thank you very much. It was a fascinating discussion, and we have to end the program here.
Thank you, Dr. Farooq. Thanks for giving this opportunity, and have a
Thank
nice
you. Thank you.
Okay, so it's ended. Hello, Dr. Farooq, can you hear me?